Suge Knight has filed a lawsuit claiming that Dr. Dre put a hit out on him. Suge got shot 7 times in the abdomen.
Suge Knight revealed in a 2018 prison interview with author Michael Douglas Carlin how CCTV footage from inside the One Oak nightclub had showed gunmen being let into the club by an LA sheriff's deputy in order to wipe out Suge Knight. Suge Knight had claimed in a lawsuit that the 2014 unsolved case had implicated Dr. Dre and the LA County Sheriff's Office in a murder-for-hire plot against him. The CCTV footage discussed by Suge Knight, which shows the officer letting the shooters into the club, has never been released to the public, but cell phone footage from partygoers had captured audio of the shooting taking place and the following panic of those fleeing the club. Suge Knight had went on to file a lawsuit against Dr. Dre, which claimed that Dr. Dre, along with Apple and Universal, had conspired against him in many different ways, with the lawsuit alleging that Dr. Dre had funded hitmen with money from Apple and Universal in order to take out Suge Knight, due to a lifetime management deal which Suge Knight had over Dr. Dre. Many theories have been put forward as to what had happened behind the unsolved case, and in this video we are going to take a look into the various theories, including the unreleased footage which allegedly implicates Dr. Dre. The One Oak nightclub on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood had been hosting a party for Chris Brown for his upcoming X album, which symbolized Chris Brown X'd out on the cover. The party had taken place on the night of the 23rd of August 2014, also acting as a pre-party for the 2014 MTV Video Music Awards, which was going to be taking place the following day in Inglewood. The event was using off-duty officers from the LA County Sheriff's Office to provide security for the club. LA Sheriff Deputy Henry Boyd was one of the officers who was working off duty on the door of the club. Suge Knight was shot at 7 times at 1:37 AM being within the club after 2 gunmen had opened fire. Suge Knight was hit with 6 bullets and had walked outside and crouched down next to a police car waiting for an ambulance to arrive. Footage from TMZ showed Suge Knight being taken in the back of an ambulance to the hospital. Suge Knight had been in the club for over an hour prior to being shot, meaning someone within the club would have had to have made the shooters aware of Suge Knight's location in order to send them there and shoot him. Suge Knight revealed in a prison interview with author Michael Douglas Carlin that when he had got shot there were 37 security cameras rolling which had caught the shooters on camera. This was initially reported by KFI Radio, hosted by iHeartRadio. CNN claimed that detectives have video that shows a man shooting Suge Knight and then can be seen running from the One Oak club afterwards. Suge Knight's lawyer Thaddeus Culpepper had claimed that surveillance footage from inside the club shows LA Sheriff Deputy Henry Boyd letting the shooters into the club to shoot Suge Knight. Website Cal Salaries reveals that Deputy Henry Boyd had made a total of $203,017 in 2014, being at the time of the shooting, with $5,680 being for unspecified activities. Thaddeus Culpepper filed legal documents in which he alleges a sheriff's deputy was working security at the One Oak nightclub for Chris Brown's party and was complicit in allowing the shooters inside the club. Thaddeus Culpepper had claimed that 2 damning videos exist which implicate the officer in the crime, one being footage from one of the 37 cameras within the One Oak nightclub which claims to show Officer Henry Boyd opening the door for the gunmen. There is also said to be secondary footage which allegedly shows the sheriff deputy at LAX airport aiding the shooters with escaping the state, being in the immediate aftermath of the shooting. The lawsuit claims, quote, "A sheriff's deputy named Henry Boyd resigned after being confronted with evidence of his activities on the night of the shooting." A lawsuit against Dr. Dre by Suge Knight claimed, quote, "The crime scene was not properly cordoned. Sheriff's deputies released the crowd almost immediately after their arrival." Unquote. LA Sheriff Sergeant Richard Biddle and Barry Hall were responsible for investigating the One Oak shooting. The investigation included seizing the footage from within the club in an attempt to identify the suspects. A man by the stage name of T-Money was taken in for questioning, being after a raid on an LA apartment, being based on information relating to the shooting. On Hollywood Unlocked in 2018, T-Money confessed that he was detained for the Suge Knight shooting, but had denied with having anything to do with it.
I didn't have nothing to do with it. everybody know I was picked up for it.
A lawsuit against Dr. Dre by Suge Knight claimed, quote, LA Sheriff's investigators questioned a man named Damian or T-Money. T-Money informed the sheriffs that he was paid by Young to kill Knight, unquote. Andre Young is Dr. Dre's real name, with the sheriffs telling Suge Knight that T-Money had told them that the gunmen were allegedly given $50,000 to shoot Suge Knight. Wire transfers from Dr. Dre to T-Money were also found to have happened, which Suge Knight believed was part of the plot. The lawsuit reads, quote, Sheriff's investigators texted Knight's family and asked in reference to Young's possible involvement if they were barking up the right tree, unquote. The lawsuit also revealed that sheriffs took Dr. Dre in for questioning, but he was released with no further action. The case is believed to remain unsolved due to the alleged involvement of Deputy Henry Boyd. 5 months after the One Oak shooting, Suge Knight claimed Dr. Dre and Universal Pictures had allegedly put out a second hit on his life. The film Straight Outta Compton, based on Dr. Dre's former rap group of NWA, was being filmed by Universal Pictures in Compton in 2014 and 2015. Suge Knight's image was being used in the film, and Suge Knight was frequently meeting with Dwayne Knob Johnson and Terry Carter in order to discuss Suge Knight's long-lasting feud with Dr. Dre and Suge Knight's potential royalties from the movie using his image. Suge Knight's lawyer David Kenner had claimed that Suge Knight had also been attending the frequent meetings to discuss the police telling Suge that Dr. Dre had put a hit out on him. David Kenner said that Suge Knight, quote, wanted to look Dr. Dre in the eye and let him know what police purportedly were saying, unquote. Suge Knight on January 29, 2015 had a confrontation with Cleebone Salone, being on Bullis Road in Linwood while he was in his truck heading for dinner. Cleebone Salone, who had formerly starred in the movie Training Day, was acting as technical advisor for the Straight Outta Compton movie and would provide factual locations to film on, along with employing 300 people to provide assistance with the production. Terry Carter had called Suge Knight 25 minutes after he had the confrontation and had invited him to Tam's Burger, telling him that Dr. Dre and Ice Cube would be there to meet him in order to discuss giving him royalties for the movie using his image. Tam's Burger is known as Murder Burger, as it is a location with a high crime rate, with it being known as a place to go to get away with murder due to its low security. The lawsuit documents claim that after Suge Knight had arrived, he had met with Terry Carter and Dwayne Knob Johnson, where Clee Salone had then ran over to his truck and repeatedly began to attack Suge Knight, saying that he was going to kill him. The lawsuit claimed during the attack that Clee Salone had knocked the gear shift into reverse, and Suge Knight attempted to flee the attack going in reverse first, which had caused a wing mirror to hit Clee Salone, knocking him over. Suge Knight then put the car in drive attempting to flee the attack, and had run over Terry Carter, killing him in the process. The LA District Attorney's Office gave Clee Salone immunity for his assault, being in return for a testimony against Suge Knight. Suge Knight's lawsuit claimed that Universal Pictures were aware of Dr. Dre contracting Clee Salone to take care of the Suge Knight problem, which had came with the film using his image, and had claimed that Universal had instructed Dr. Dre to send Clee Salone to take care of Suge Knight. Suge Knight claimed in an interview with TheBlast.com that witnesses claimed how Dr. Dre had approached security prior to the incident and asked how much it would take to get rid of Suge Knight, meaning to kill him.
Dre came to them first and asked the two guys how much it cost to get rid of me. And they said, what you mean by get rid of him? And they said, kill him. He gave guys 20 grand and even more in cash to kill me. It was a murder for hire case.
The lawsuit reveals that just prior to the incident, Clee Salone was paid $300,000 and Dwayne Knob Johnson was paid $20,000, being in a personal check from Dr. Dre. In 2023, YouTube channel Bomb First posted what is believed to be the $20K check from Dr. Dre, which was allegedly intended to go towards taking out Suge Knight, which had ended up in Suge Knight killing someone. The lawsuit claims Universal Pictures and Dr. Dre knew in advance of Clee Salone's immunity and claim that after the LA District Attorney's Office had gave Clee Salone immunity, Salone then allegedly lied on the stand and claimed to have been unarmed and the lawsuit claimed that Universal Pictures and Dr. Dre had supported Clee Salone's false testimony in order to help with incarcerating Suge Knight. LA Sheriff Sergeant Richard Biddle was also responsible for investigating the Tams Burger incident, which had taken place 5 months after the One Oak shooting. Former LAPD Detective Russell Paul was going to the LA County Sheriff's Office to discuss the conflict of interest being in the fact that LA Sheriff Sergeant Richard Biddle was the same detective assigned to investigate both cases. An email released by Russell Paul's co-author Michael Douglas Carlin also reveals that Russell Paul was going there to discuss with meeting Suge Knight, as the LA County Sheriff's Office were responsible for allowing visitors. As the email claims, Suge Knight was ready to talk to Russell Paul about the deaths of Tupac and Biggie and how it related to Russell Paul's theory. Russell Paul, who was the former LAPD detective assigned to investigate the Biggie Smalls murder, had concluded that, to his belief, corrupt LAPD Rampart cops were involved in the deaths of Tupac and Biggie, which had been staged to look like an East Coast-West Coast war. Russell Paul, when going to the LA County Sheriff's Office to discuss the conflict of interest in Suge Knight's case and trying to visit him in jail to get further information about the Tupac and Biggie cases, had then dropped dead within the LA County Sheriff's Office while presenting his information. Michael Douglas Carlin revealed in his interview with Suge Knight that Russell Paul didn't like LA Sheriff Sergeant Richard Biddle. Richard Biddle in 2019 had a lawsuit placed against him by the executive producer of the Hangover movie series, as the lawsuit claimed that Richard Biddle was involved in corruption, with the lawsuit reading, quote, "Biddle has made numerous false allegations without any legal basis and has abused the legal process to obtain a warrant to access Budnick and Company's confidential documents and private communications," unquote. The lawsuit claimed that Sergeant Biddle had the film producer charged under false pretenses due to the film producer's involvement in activism of police corruption and justice reform. Suge Knight, Russell Paul, and civil rights defense attorney Ron Kay have all claimed corruption against Richard Biddle, with him being accused of corruption charges in civil lawsuits. The case in Suge Knight's lawsuit against Dr. Dre argues that the LA County Sheriff's Office were on the payroll of the money involved in the hits against Suge Knight, which mentions Dr. Dre's accounts receiving money from Apple and Universal Pictures for the cops to make sure that Suge Knight was taken care of, resulting in death or jail. YouTube channel Bomb First, with Death Row's former head of security, done an interview with a man called D-Dog in 2023, who knew details about the case and claimed Universal Pictures and the District Attorney's Office of LA allegedly worked towards putting Suge Knight in prison. D-Dog claimed that Dr. Dre, Straight Outta Compton director F. Gary Gray, and movie set security Clee Salone were allegedly the main people behind the 2015 incident with Suge Knight. The Suge Knight lawsuit against Dr. Dre claimed that when Dr. Dre decided to leave Death Row Records in 1996, in order to be released, Suge Knight made him sign a lifetime management deal with no right of rescission. The lawsuit documents claim the deal entitled Suge Knight to 30% of Dr. Dre's earnings with no right of rescission, meaning it legally couldn't be removed. The Suge Knight lawsuit revealed that Dr. Dre had been battling Suge Knight in court up until May 2nd, 2014, where Dr. Dre had asked the court to rescind the 30% lifetime management deal 3 separate times. The lawsuit documents claim that Suge Knight, due to the management deal, would have been entitled to Dr. Dre's earnings from his $3 billion deal with Apple for Beats headphones, with his stake being $300 million, along with Dre's earnings from Universal Pictures for Straight Outta Compton. The lawsuit reads, quote, "Mr. Marion Knight can prove that Andre Romel Young, while acting as an agent for Universal and Apple, intentionally interfered with a valid lifetime management contract between Knight and Young. Apple did not want to conclude a financial transaction that included and benefited Knight, because Apple and Young believed that Knight's reputation would tarnish the new headphone brand going forward, were the public to learn that Knight shared in the exchange. Serious attempts at Knight's life began only after Young was paid through Apple on May 28, 2014. Universal, through the production of the film, provided Young with capital and a staging area through which to intimidate Knight and to ensure that Knight relinquished his right in the management contract payouts," unquote. The lawsuit documents alleged that money from Apple and Universal Pictures put into Dr. Dre's accounts was allegedly used in both the unsolved One Oak shooting case and the Tams Burger incident. The lawsuit reads, quote, "In the Apple Beach transaction, Apple paid Young and Jimmy Iovine handsomely. Apple money flowed through 12 different bank accounts belonging to Young. Knight is also informed and believes that payments from one or any or all of the accounts were used to pay the armed gunman that shot Knight 7 times at the One Oak nightclub on August 24, 2014. Money for production of the film also flowed through these same accounts and paid Nob and Solana as technical advisors," unquote. The lawsuit claimed that after Dr. Dre's rescission appeal was denied for the final time on May 2, 2014, Dr. Dre and Apple changed their course and the threats on Suge Knight's life soon followed. Dr. Dre, while performing at the 2022 Super Bowl, had featured Tams Burger as part of the performance set, which was seen as a diss towards Suge Knight. Reggie Wright Jr., who was a former Compton cop and was the former head of security for Suge Knight's record label, has put forward a different story as to what had happened at the One Oak Club. Reggie Wright Jr. claimed that he believes goons were sent from Akon's brother to take out Suge Knight due to Suge Knight pressuring Akon over a producer called Detail who owed Suge money. T-Money, who is claimed to have been one of the shooters in the One Oak Club, is an associate of Abu Butime, who is Akon's brother and the former manager of both Kanye West and Chris Brown. Akon had beef with Suge Knight, and in 2009, Akon's former road manager Robert Conge Jr. had knocked out Suge Knight. Akon claimed it was after Suge Knight confronted them about a $12,000 debt for the producer. Suge Knight, in his Collect Cool podcast, claimed he had actually confronted Akon about taking advantage of 2 young girls. Suge Knight had found Akon's brother Abu Butime at a recording studio in LA, and while Suge Knight was with goons, they had forced Abu Butime to strip down to humiliate him. Reggie Wright Jr. claimed to his belief shortly after this, Abu Butime had hired T-Money to carry out the shooting in One Oak. This would mean that T-Money then allegedly told the police that it was Dr. Dre to throw them off of the track, or the police had made it up and told Suge Knight this, and Suge Knight then ran with it to create a lawsuit to help in his defense. AllHipHop.com had reported the day after the One Oak shooting that Akon's brother was behind it, with the article reading, quote, "Suge was shot over a dispute with R&B singer Akon's brother Abu Butime. The source claims Suge owed Boo around $250,000 and a fight involving the two actually broke out at a LA studio," unquote. With Boo being Chris Brown's manager and the shooting occurring at Chris Brown's event, this could have been how Suge Knight's whereabouts were allegedly made to T-Money for him to then get shot. Suge Knight had also sued Chris Brown for hosting an event which supplied inadequate security, but had dropped the lawsuit after Chris Brown's lawyers threatened to countersue. Young Jeezy had also been connected to the One Oak case, which puts forward a different theory that Suge Knight was not the intended target, but Young Jeezy's security chief, who was also hit during the shooting. XXL magazine released an article which connected the One Oak shooting to a murder which had taken place the night before, which was connected to Young Jeezy, and how the shooting may have been a retaliation shooting for the murder. The night before the One Oak shooting, Wiz Khalifa and Young Jeezy were headlining the Under the Influence tour for Live Nation, being at the Shoreline Amphitheater in Mountain View, California. Music promoter Eric Johnson, while backstage, had gotten into an argument with Young Jeezy's entourage, as the promoter had paid Young Jeezy to attend an after party, but Young Jeezy refused to attend. The promoter Eric Johnson was then shot 5 times from what was described as a black pistol with a large magazine. The police claimed the identity of the shooter, and how and when he had entered the backstage area to commit the murder still remains unknown, with it still being an unsolved case. Young Jeezy's head of security on the Under the Influence tour, who was there during the time of the murder, had then gone to the One Oak party the following night. The 32-year-old was then shot at the party, including Suge Knight and one other, although it was Suge Knight who took most of the bullets, being shot 6 times. The day after the One Oak party, police raided Young Jeezy's tour bus and arrested Young Jeezy for being in possession of an AK-47. The weapon was licensed to the head of security, who was in hospital recovering from the One Oak shooting, leading to Young Jeezy being arrested. Young Jeezy was jailed for 3 days with a million bail. That same morning, Suge Knight walked out of the hospital after recovering from the bullet wounds. During this time, the LA County Sheriff's Department had turned over the shooting investigation to its homicide division, suggesting that the shooting was an attempted murder. Live Nation and Young Jeezy were involved in a wrongful death lawsuit which was finally dropped in 2023. Some believe the One Oak shooting may have been a retaliation for the murder which happened the day before, with Suge Knight simply getting shot by being in the way. Cat Williams, who was at the One Oak Club, had claimed in an interview with TMZ that Suge Knight was not the intended target and claimed he had saved someone's life, and had also claimed that nobody would be charged with the crime.
If you're an idiot, you can believe this was about Suge Knight. We know who it was aimed at, we know whose life he saved, and we know why they won't talk about it. But if the police say nobody shot him, I believe nobody shot him. And if nobody shot him, that's the same nobody that shot Tupac.
In this video, we took a look into the unsolved One Oak nightclub shooting of 2014, where Suge Knight was shot 6 times. Suge Knight claimed and filed in a lawsuit that Dr. Dre and Apple were allegedly involved in hiring the hitman, and followed up with a second attempt 5 months later. Akon's brother was also the focal point of a different theory, which claimed he had ordered the hit after being humiliated by Suge Knight. Young Jeezy's head of security was also put forward as a potential target in the shooting due to a murder which had taken place the day before. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, smash the thumbs up button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and press that bell button so you can get all the future notifications for when I upload. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.